Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about the effect of human and natural factors to food crisis. We know that food crisis can be a major problem, and we assume that human factors and natural factors, they can all have a kind of effect to food crisis, but which one of them may be dominate the effect, or maybe two of them share the same kind of level of affection. So in this presentation, we're going to show you our research and demonstrate our results. First, I would like to introduce our speakers. Hi everyone, I'm Howard Su.
I'm Claire Chen.
I'm Winnie Young.
And then we're going to show you our contents. First, we're going to talk about our incentives, about why we choose this topic of food crisis. And then we're going to provide with some background knowledge and factors and statistics. And then we're going to proceed with the empirical analysis and finally with a conclusion.
Now I'm going to talk about our incentives. Since the food crisis issue is one of United Nations important issue, also the food crisis may pose huge potential threat to our life. Therefore, this issue intensely relate to our life.
Now I'd like to illustrate our introduction first. We like to define what is food crisis. In short, food crisis is the demand of food exceed its supply and a consequence of dispute and even of war. The current situation now is that, according to Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they have proved that there are 37 countries that are facing food crisis now. Also, the price of grain crops are rapidly increasing each year, and it's higher than before. Moreover, there are 1 billion people suffering from hunger now, according to the data of UNFAO. So, what makes food so important? First of all, we think that food is a very necessary thing to our living. Also, food crisis contains a high risk comparing to other crises because when food crises occur, it's very hard to recover. Food is also an economic weapon because when a country has abundance of food, the resource is adequate. So when two countries are comparing, the country with adequate resources has the advantage. And food is not only a one-handed issue, it contains political and economic problems.
Now I would like to introduce the factors that we think can affect food crisis. There are two main factors. The first one is natural factors. There are drought, flood, and storm. We think that these three elements can affect a lot because when these three events happen, it can cause huge damage to the crops directly.
As for human factors, we think that crude oil is a potential problem. Crude oil is needed for transportation, and farmers needed vehicles to import and export their crops. As the demand for oil increases, the cost increases too, forcing the farmers to lift the price of crops up. Eventually, the grain crops cannot be affordable to people around the world. And the population is also increasing now. So with more people around the world, the demand for food will increase. Biomass is now a trendy technique, and it needs crops to function. As it gets more popular, the crops for food will shortage because it has all been used for biomass.
Previously, we have demonstrated all kinds of factors that might be the cause of food crisis. And now we are going to transfer those factors into variables. We have collected data from US Census Bureau and NASA, and we're going to seek evidence from data. First, we'd like to provide some descriptive statistics. The first variable we're going to talk about is drought. It is one of the natural variables. It is the frequency of drought per year. and the observation period is from 1990 to 2013, across 24 years. And for maxima, 42 times means that in 1 year, the drought has occurred for 42 times, and it is the largest of all years. And flood is the frequency of flood per year, and it has a period of 24 years. And next is our third natural factors variable. It is storm. And following is our human factors. Crude oil is defined as the price per barrel, and the maximum of the crude oil price is $109.5, which has happened in these years. And the next one is population. Population is the amount of people around the world, and the maximum is 710 million people, and it is also a record set in recent years. Now let's look at the graph. This graph contains years from 1950 to 2050, and the world population at 1950 is about like 3 billion people, and we have estimated that when it comes to 2050 there will be 9 billion people. So if we see the slope, we can see that it's a positive ascending slope, which means that even to 2050 the global population won't reach to a limit of our global limitation. And finally is biomass. Biomass is a plant material that is used as a fuel or energy sources. And now we're going to introduce two environmental variables. Environmental variables are not factors that we are interested in, but they are the conditions which describe the current situation of our planet. And we have taken two environmental variables in our research.
The first one is the global temperature. It's the Earth's average temperature. We measured our data by 0.01 degrees Celsius among 24 years, and we can find that the average of degree is 0.5 Celsius. The second one is carbon dioxide concentration. It is the CO2 in Earth.
And the most important is food price index. What is food price index? It's a measurement of monthly change of international food price. When food price index is high, it means that people around the world are not able to buy food. Also, that means that the demand for food exceeds supply. The period for this is 1990 to 2013, which is 24 years.
And now after we have set up all the information, the variables, the factors, and given you the condition, a brief knowledge about what has happened to each variable, we are now going to proceed with the empirical analysis. First, we put the food price index on the left, which means our independent variable, the variable that we are most interested in. And on the right side, we put each of the variables into this regression model, like human factors of population, oil and biomass, and environmental factors such as carbon dioxide and temperature, and finally with natural variables like drought, flood, and storm. And all these variables has contained a period of 22 years. And with all the coefficients, let's look at beta 2. Beta 2 represents the relationship between oil and food price index. And now let's look at the results. A star on the top right corner indicates that the estimation is significant, which means that it has highly supported by the data. And for the natural factors such as drought, flood, and storm, only flood is significant, and they all possess a negative relationship, which is not that intuitive. And for this kind of result to happen, it means that the natural factors did not play an important role to affect the food price index. On the contrary, let's look at the human factors such as population, oil, and biomass. In these three variables, we can see that population and oil are significant. And let's look at oil. It has a coefficient of 1, and we take 2 points in decimal. It means that when the price of oil increased for $1, the food price index will also increase 1. So that we can conclude the human factors actually affect food price index more significantly than others factors like the natural variables.
So after all these analyses, we can conclude that human factors are very important to food crisis. And also, natural factor is not the cause. It might have some influence to food crisis, but it's not the dominated reasons.
Through the data we develop, we can realize that actually we humans may be the major culprit in food crisis. Therefore, what we need to do is to make changes start from ourselves.
And finally, in this research, we only provide data with a period of 24 years. But as we know that for those environmental problems or like temperature or like carbon dioxide concentration, it would be better if we can extend the time period to like 50 years or 100 years or maybe 200 years. Because for a long term, we can observe a better or a more conspicuous trend of relationship. And furthermore, future technology may also provide us large benefit. Because such as gene technology, it can modify the characteristics of food. So it may help the food to grow more faster or it can resist to other harmful sources. We suggest that everyone should focus on the environment. And also we need to devote ourselves to sustained development. We pay for what we have done, so that if we continue to harm our planet, we will eventually pay the price. This is the end of our presentation. Hope you like it. Thank you very much.